I know there's a lot of Giant fans that can't stand Daniel Jones, thinks he stinks or whatever. He did okay to get you into the playoffs. I know he didn't throw for a ton of yards, ton of touchdown passes, but I mean he can ball in this league to a certain extent. The question is, can he lead you to the promised land? Can he be a franchise quarterback? And even if you believe he could be, Michael, bad neck, bad knee, there's injury situations that might just be why the Giants want the exit strategy, even though they might believe in him. Can you really think that over the next 3 years, means this year and then have the other 2 years kick in, believe that you're going to have a healthy, stable quarterback? And I can understand if the Giants are thinking that that may not be the case.
But the buyer's remorse, does it come from the injuries or does it come from the fact they don't think he's good? And you know what? If they don't think he's good off of last year, then that's on them too. They're the ones that gave him the 2 years.
I listen, last year was not good. But nothing was good about the Giants last year until, the defense started to figure it out and Saquon got healthy. But still, even with the other quarterbacks, and we can go crazy about what DeVito did, it wasn't anything great. He looked okay. It wasn't super.
No.
So
he's a guy.
I probably think it's the injuries, Michael. I mean, to have a bad neck, all right, he overcame that, but then the knee, another knee injury. I'm not sure if he's going to be ready for the start of camp, although they say he may be, but still we've seen players with this injury have it spill into the training camp, which means what if he's not ready? What do you do if he's not ready to the start of the season in such an important year to evaluate him moving forward? I think it's probably the injuries.
It's weird, though. I mean, they still have him on the books for $40 million. So if they go out and get another quarterback to be the quarterback, does that mean that you're going to have a $40 million backup? I mean, talk about, like, wrecking your cap. I mean, we look at the Broncos, how they have $85 million in dead money. Essentially, if he's a backup quarterback at 40, then you have $40 million of dead cap on a quarterback that you chose. Now, you could say that Sean Payton didn't choose Russell Wilson. That trade was made before he got there when Hackett was there. These are the people that signed him to that contract, and now they have buyer's remorse. That doesn't make them look that great either. Again, if it's the injuries, okay. But he had neck injuries before they signed the deal anyway. Then he got another one, and then the knee injury. I think the neck injury has to be the thing that concerns them the most because the state of medicine, you're gonna get through a knee injury.
But listen, they weren't all on board anyway. Because you can look at, $40 million, that's a lot. Not if you believe he's your franchise quarterback, it is. That's not a lot.
But when they signed it, it was Don. It was. I mean, it's since become stratospheric.
But everybody knew, Michael, that the money was going to go up. All right, it seemed a lot for what he had performed up to, but you can't say we believe we found our franchise quarterback and then pay him. What was it? 4 years, $160 million with an out after 2 years. Why do you have an out after 2 years? If you believe he's your guy, then why did you create an exit strategy after 2 years? So I don't know how on board they were. I think they wanted to honor what had happened the year before, got him into the playoffs, won a playoff game. That's not nothing. He was selected 6th overall, not by them, but, seems like he's a good kid, good leader, and I think they wanted to give him a chance to have that full contract kick in. But, Michael, if they were in love with him the way Gettleman was, as much as $40 million is a lot of money, to have the out after 2 years tells you that they were still kind of curious themselves.
But it's their out. I mean, so if they were in love with him, they could easily pick up the 3rd and the 4th year and make it 100. Right. But, I mean, that's just smart business because what happens if he did, in fact, have a catastrophic injury? They're not on the books for 160.
But, Michael, I think if they believed that he was the man, I don't think there would have been that out, and I think the money might even have gotten even higher than it was.
But it may, even if they're like in full bloom love, in the words of Gettleman, you still put the out in to guard against the injury. So we don't know what that. I'll tell you what. As much as I like Joe Shane, and you guys know I like Brian Dable, I think they've handled the quarterback situation abysmally by not picking up the 5th-year option, then signing him to this deal. I mean,
it's nasty.
It's not. They didn't do the right thing, and then the Saquon Barkley stuff. The fact that they have not offered Barkley this contract, and the fact that they might not match us, that tells me, and it's an important factor to consider. Mara and Tisch are out of the equation because I think that Mara and Tisch probably had something to do with Daniel Jones being signed too.
Well, I hope.
Because I think they have
not.
a lot of sway. Obviously, they're the owners.
I hope not.
Because they had a lot of sway with Manning.
But that was supposed to change under Shane. Bring somebody outside the organization, somebody that was going to be the big boy in the room. Like, enough with the whole Eli Manning stuff and continuing to kick it down the can because you wanted to get him another championship or apologize to him for what happened with the Geno Smith situation and ending his streak. It was supposed to be about business and really everything. You look at the way Saquon Barkley's being handled, Michael.
This is business.
This is business. So they made business decisions. Now, obviously, they got it wrong with the quarterback. Now, I think that would have taken amazing foresight to be able to give him the fifth-year option based on what we saw. And maybe they felt a little kinship to him because he got him in the playoffs. They won a playoff game. So they wanted to bring him back.
Yeah, but the kinship thing I can't buy, Don, because these guys look like they're really black and white on stuff. I mean, the fact that you're letting Barkley essentially walk away, they're black and white, which is the right way to be. So you can't give him a gold watch because they got him into the playoffs. I mean, he had 16 touchdown passes.
Right, but
he didn't light it up.
I know, but he ran for 700 yards and 7 more touchdown passes, and there were times he looked good and he got into the playoffs. Now, it all came apart in Philadelphia, and I think we see the limitations there. But also, let's remember what were their alternatives. All right, if they decided to part ways with Daniel Jones, Michael, where were they going to go?
Well, you know what? That's their job to find another way to go.
But obviously their job saw that Daniel Jones was a solid option compared to what else was out there.
But now they have buyer's remorse a year later?
But
a year later?
And that's why I think the injuries had something to do with that. He had a catastrophic knee injury that kept him out most of the year. You don't think that can create buyer's remorse? So they were hoping that they could duplicate what had happened the year before. They go out and get Waller. Waller gets hurt. They think the offensive line's going to work. Doesn't work. Takes forever for the defense to finally get going. All right, there were a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and that falls on Dable and Shane as well. They thought they had built a better team around Daniel Jones, and they were wrong. But then Daniel Jones gets hurt again. So that's probably where the buyer's remorse comes in, guys, is that, hey, could you really honestly, you hate Daniel Jones all you want. Can you honestly say that you saw really anything last year based on how many times he played and how awful the team was around him?
Well, I mean, it's not just a quarterback that decides whether or not he does well. I mean, I know that sounds convoluted. It's a lot of things, but he didn't look good. His part of the equation, he did not look great. He didn't have a lot of protection. He didn't have a lot of weapons. I get it. I get all of it. But, I mean, let's look at Peter's brought this up a lot, too, over the years. We're 5 years in. We still don't know. I mean, if you don't know after 5 years, you know.
Exactly.
If you don't know after 5 years, you know.